our Power Thinking, Rejuvenating Your Amazing Mind training for Wednesday. It is June the 3rd, 2026. This is our 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time edition, and I'm your moderator, Stanley Green. So happy to be back on a Wednesday. Last Wednesday was the first time that we did not do our Wednesday training sessions, and I felt it. It was a very strange day for me because I'm so used to doing these. I don't know if it was for you, and certainly you can hit star 6 and let me know if you felt the difference by not checking in on a Wednesday. Certainly, we had a great panel discussion with Dr. Kennebrew of the Delaware Valley Association of Black Psychologists. We had the uh, senior medical director for behavioral health at Independence Blue Cross, Dr. Ryan Connolly, and we had David Black, who's a longtime member, going back to 2021, and one of the early investors. He worked for a company called DLJ, Donaldson Lufkin Jennerette, major private equity firm in the 80s, who sent them out to pretty much reject Howard Schultz of Starbucks. Told him that that model wouldn't work. Nobody's going to pay that much for coffee. And he went out and he was so, I guess, impressed with the leadership of how and the vision of Howard Schultz. He came back to DLJ and said, we got to invest in it. And at the time, Schultz had about 14 stores, and who knows how many they have now all over the world. And the other investment that the company didn't believe in, paying a fee, like a membership fee, to go in and shop. They said, nah, nobody's going to do that. And of course, David went out and was so impressed. He came back, and it was about the leadership. He came back and said, we have to do this. And of course, Costco is thriving today. So he was a panelist as well. So thank you all for those of you who joined us for doing that. But I don't know if I'll ever skip another Wednesday. It was a different day for me, and certainly really it's a testament to you because we have this interaction. You join us, and I really enjoy it. So we really appreciate you being here. Sherry Aquari joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you, and thank you for doing the invites for us. So we, of course, every week, our goal is to help you build these evidence-based skills and get you stronger in researched areas, and so that when this adversity hits, anything from a small disagreement to major health issue, a loss of a loved one, a loss of a job and income, going broke. I mean, all of the kinds of things that happen in people's lives, that you can bounce back from adversity almost in real time. But at least you won't be stuck for long periods of time. And we hope that we can help you avoid a depression and things of that nature. So thank you for checking in, so that we can ensure that when adversity hits, we're bouncing back. So our job is to help you retrain your brain. And of course, with our, Power Thinking Corp app, we're sending you these push notifications on a daily basis, also with videos. So you don't have to wait until a Wednesday to get the videos. All of the previous programs are conveniently stored on your app. And today, of course, we have our 7 inner strengths of resilience. Our focus today is on Power Thinking Resilience Inner Strength number 2, which is impulse control. The video we shared with you is called Why Teens React, Understanding Impulsivity. And in 3 minutes, we get some really good material. Love to hear your thoughts about it. What you think about the video? What impulse control strategies do you use? Love to hear that as well. Let's acknowledge Coach Carrie Willis, who said, I've had some strange days too. Universal alignment for continued greatness isn't always comfortable. Thanks for joining us, Coach Carrie. And you are everywhere. And I really appreciate you, taking the time to join us as well. So feel free to hit that *6 or make your comments on LinkedIn or YouTube. Happy to be back. Happy that you're with us. Some of you, actually, I had to hang out anyway. I should have just gone ahead and done the show, because some folks, even though they received the messaging, they showed up. And so I had to sit there and say, hey, folks, come to the Thursday session. We're not doing today. I could have just gone through the entire 30 minutes and be done with it. But I certainly learned my lessons there. So let's do this. Let's before we get into those 7 industries, 7 skills, and kind of remind you what we do. Let's go to Carla Hill, who's joining us. Carla, thanks for joining us. Mention where you're joining us from and your thoughts about impulse control. Welcome.
Yes, I'm calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and excellent video. And to your point about missing on Wednesday, because I've been part of the 7 years, it did feel weird. And I also recommend that, because I said, from a business perspective, I said, oh, probably should have just kept the Wednesday, and that would have been a reminder for people to come back on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, but when we take action, we learn from the action. And but I love this video in terms of skill building. I love the fact that it was under 3 minutes, and just the strategies, the tools, the content. What I've observed is being a little bit more introverted, except when I'm in my zone of what I really care about. I'm more extroverted, but I tend to think first. I'm an INTP, so I'm definitely on the Myers-Briggs, so I'm definitely more of a thinker. And then being in my profession of a human resource leader, I tend to possibly my words mean something, right? So, but like personally, when I sense if I'm being attacked or somebody I love is being attacked, it's the impulse control, right? Because I don't like to be put in a corner. I don't know if it's the New York thing. I don't know. So I love what I think of, and I've heard before, of the HALT. When you are emotionally upset about, are you hungry? Are you the acronym H is, are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Are you tired because you make poor decisions if you're in any one of those states? So realizing what state you're in. But what I took away, and I love new strategies and new tools, the acronym STOP that they had when you help control impulses. When the video talked about STOP. The first one is STOP, which is easy to remember. The T, which is the S. The T is take a breath. O is observe. Learn that through meditation techniques. Your thoughts. Observe the situation and observe what you're thinking. Again, that might be the HALT. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, tired? And then the P is proceed wisely, right? And then the delay and decide. So they summarized it 2 ways with the acronym of STOP and the delay and decide. And it's practice. It's because there's no absence then of content and information. There's an absence of implementation and execution.
Yeah.
Right. So these allow us, but we got to practice to get to implementation, execution. We do need the content and the awareness, but picking it, how do we practice that? And that's why I come back twice a day. I'm here, but now it's being exposed to this content. I get to practice it for the rest of the day and then talk about my results this evening at 9:30. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Carla. Really appreciate it. And let's go next to, and by the way, thank you for pointing out their acronym. STOP, real simple, stop your body, take a breath, observe what you're feeling and what can happen next. Next is proceed wisely. And they mentioned that most impulses will lose their intensity and their power in 30 to 60 seconds. And remember, when people take an impulsive act, when they say something or do something that they'll regret later, it happens in a split second. But just think about the power of just waiting 30 seconds to 60 seconds and what that does. So love to get your thoughts. Hit that *6 or put a comment there on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Let's go to Leslie Flowers next. Leslie, thanks for joining us. Mention where you're joining us from and your thoughts about the impulse control strategies. Welcome.
Thank you, Stanley. I'm Leslie Flowers, and I'm here from North Carolina, not too far away from Raleigh, in basketball area.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of good basketball. Not right now, though.
Right.
Excellent video. And what came up for me, because all the points were really good. Carla made a good point, right? It's a great system. We need a system to follow. It helps us to turn it into a habit, just like Wednesdays.
Yes.
So for me on last Wednesday, my question is, why didn't you go ahead and do Wednesday anyway?
Oh, there's a second person that said that.
Right. And you have these brilliant people that you can call and ask what we think, and you didn't.
No, I didn't.
So there's lots of good.
I gave it a shot. I said, okay, let's see, how important Wednesdays really are. Can we do one a month instead of every week? Should we do a different day? Well, I found out pretty quickly. So I could have done the survey.
Yeah.
Right.
Just both. But anyway, so the thing that came up for me with this video was even how you begin, because what happens is these reactions, these volatile reactions, are automatic, they're instinctive. So when you're asked to stop, that is your conscious mind. And the problem is when you're in reaction like this, and Stanley, please ring in on this, when you're in this kind of a reaction, which is already instilled in your body because it's happened so many times, you aren't thinking. So my question to you is, what about is it the intensity of the anger that would allow you to catch yourself in that second? How does the person even begin if we are so triggered and upset that we don't take that second because we're in fight or flight? We're in action to poke someone in the nose, right? And so to me, the real enigma here is going from reaction to conscious thought, because conscious thought isn't as strong. So this ability to have a choice and to say, okay, I'm going to stop now and I'm going to go through this process and I'm going to repeat it. But the two don't, faith and fear do not occupy the same moment in time. So your reaction, your anger, depending on the intensity of it, your higher side and your ability to logically think is shut down temporarily. So in that split second, what happens? You catch yourself enough to put yourself into the system, and I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Leslie. Really appreciate it. Well, basically, as you went through, you just made the case for why it's important that we do what we do. Because the reality is that you're not going to automatically go to the skills that will enable you to have better impulse control. It's just not going to happen. And so it's going to take repeated exposure, which is what we are doing every week, and the practice. So I would encourage you, right now, just think about one thing that would be your go-to. And that STOP acronym is great. Think about stopping. And the more you practice it on your own, just stop and pause. Stop, pause. 30 seconds. Because remember, 30 to 60 seconds, that intensity, of the emotion And that first thought that that you want to act on, or the thing that you want to say, kind of begins to dissipate. So it, even if you're not faced with the situation, it's kind of like, you talked about basketball, and you're in North Carolina, and a hotbed of college basketball. And, I played for University of Pennsylvania and played one of your North Carolina teams, Duke. Um, uh, we weren't in a game every day. We practiced more than we played, another team. We'll practice, could be a week, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and then we'll have a game. Practice another week, have a game. Practice a few days, have a game. And the practices are 2 hours, 2 hours on average, and then so you may practice 8 hours or so for a 1 2 hour game. But when you get into the game, because of the practice, we know how to respond when faced with certain situations. But we don't do that in life. We know that there are going to be situations where we may respond negatively. We may get angry. We may be sad for a period of time. We may lose control. And so, but at the same time, there are not many places where you can go where they're telling you on an ongoing basis, let's practice just a stop, a pause, and that's the term that's usually used, pause. Practice pausing, just pause. Practice taking a deep breath, right? So that when these situations hit, it then becomes automatic. You're building that kind of muscle memory. When this happens, this is how you respond. And that is the purpose of what we do with Power Thinking, what we do with our app in terms of pushing positive thoughts to disrupt negative thoughts, videos, so that in the past, of course, we know that every Wednesday we prep by sending out a video on Tuesday night. And that was Wednesdays was the time that you had to practice. And we did notice folks would notice a difference with how they responded. When someone would cut them off on the road, they would take that pause. They would challenge their own beliefs about what just happened. It would be natural because we are talking about it, every week. And thank you both, Carla and Leslie, for the reminder. You can bet I'll never do that again. We'll just go ahead and have the call, even if I don't send out a video. There's benefit in kind of keeping this going. So what started all of this? Let's go back. I watched, by the way, there's a video by Dr. Aaron Beck, who passed away in 2021 at the age of 100, but he is the father of cognitive behavioral therapy. And this video is about an hour and 45 minutes, where his daughter interviews him and asks him about how he started cognitive behavioral therapy. And he talks about maybe about 16 minutes in, when he had a client who, they were focusing on one aspect of her behavior, and then she kind of she had a facial expression, and he kind of asked her, so what's happening, what are you thinking? And she said, I'm thinking that I'm boring you. And he said, do you always have these thoughts? And she said, yes, and it's kind of the source of my anxiety. So it was totally different than what they were talking about and focused on. And he started to focus on people's automatic thoughts. So over a period of time, as he started helping people, kind of go over what they were thinking, and when they were having these thinking traps, then he found that he was able, instead of having a client for 2 to 3 years coming in every couple of weeks or so, that would shrink to about 11 months, because he taught them how to be aware of what was going on with them. And that's what we are doing. So This work started with Dr. Aaron Beck. It started with Dr. Martin Seligman, and they used to meet for lunch every month. They were both at the University of Pennsylvania. And Seligman is credited with starting a new branch of psychology called positive psychology. He was a $10,000 a month consultant to the company that we acquired, that Power Thinking acquired, called Reflective Learning. And they actually equipped that company and therefore Power Thinking with the material that we share. But he had a groundbreaking discovery back in 1967, and that discovery was around learned helplessness. Big time discovery that people can actually, learn to be helpless. They're not born that way. They can learn to be helpless after, experiencing a persistent and consistent failure to succeed or a major traumatic event. And then, of course, he started studying the opposite. Can they learn to be more resilient? Can they learn to be more optimistic? And what they found through the research that, yes, people can learn to be, more optimistic. They can learn how to avoid depression or not stay depressed for long periods of time where it becomes debilitating physically. And they identified 5 major negative emotions that can really stop people in their tracks. And those are anger, the belief that someone violated your rights, guilt, the belief that you violated someone else's rights. There's sadness, just pure loss. There's embarrassment, loss of standing in the group. And then there's anxiety, the fear of a future threat. And there may be some things that we go through where we will experience multiple negative emotions at one time. And the reality is that we can actually reduce those negative emotions, the intensity of those negative emotions, and actually eliminate them. And so then it gets back to, what is it that we do? Kind of Leslie's point. First thing is that we need to be taught to be more aware of what's going on in our minds. There are times that we certainly are taught to be more aware of what's going on physically in our bodies. If we're having, too much fatigue or we have pain, then we're going to get help. But we need to be aware of what's happening with us mentally, more aware. And that's what power thinking is all about, giving you the power to be more aware of your thoughts, be more aware of the underlying beliefs. And then, how can we make change? So it starts with recognizing that our brains are processing thousands and thousands of thoughts, perhaps 6,000, as Leslie would say it, complete thoughts, through one study, to 50,000 plus, micro thoughts, maybe not complete thoughts, but you just happen to see something, it's registered in your mind. What is it? 50,000 plus. 70 to 80% of those thoughts are negative. And this is where the work begins. Because as a result of those negative thoughts and erroneous thoughts, these thinking traps that we fall into, we jump to conclusions with no evidence, where we mind read, that can trigger these emotions. And the first 2 strengths that we're helping people to build with power thinking relate to our emotions, and what we focus on today are impulsivity, our impulses. So as it relates to our emotions, remember we talked about these 5 big negative emotions. Our goal is to get stronger in our ability to regulate these emotions. We have the ability to control those emotions. And so these are the ability not just to stay calm under pressure, as opposed to letting those emotions run away with us. The second is what our focus is for today. The second strength that we want to build with resilience is the impulse control. And that is the ability not to say or do the first things that comes to mind. There's empathy, the ability to understand another person's experiences and emotions. There is self-efficacy, the belief that you have control over your ability to succeed. And Leslie's point, repetition is the first law of learning. I'll tell you, last night, sometimes I'll watch YouTube videos, and there's YouTube videos about old programs or old commercials. It is absolutely amazing how, because of the repetition of watching these shows back in those days every week, you, and at least for me, I wasn't consciously trying to memorize the Flintstones themes or Bewitched or whatever, or the Beverly Hillbillies or the Jeffersons or Sanford and Son. But it was amazing how, you remember the words and the beats and everything about it. And the same with commercials, right? And this was unconscious. We didn't consciously try to remember it, but it was put in front of us every week. And that's what we're doing with power thinking. So the fourth, inner strength, is self-efficacy. The fifth is optimism, the view that all things ultimately will have a successful outcome. Next is causal analysis, drilling down to the root cause of a situation or problem. And then finally, reaching out, a strength and not a weakness. So that's what we want to build. And that's what we're here every week to do. And we will continue to be here every Wednesday. No matter what else we do, we will do our Wednesdays. And so what are the skills? There's learning the ABCs. And that's Dr. Albert Ellis. And Dr. Aaron Beck learned from Dr. Albert Ellis around that relationship, being aware of, what happened to us, the adversity, and what we believe deeply about what happened to us, which then drives the C, the consequence, or the negative emotions. And of course, avoiding the thinking traps identified by Dr. Aaron Beck, what's typically called cognitive distortions, thinking traps. There's overgeneralizing and tunnel vision and personalizing, beating ourselves up too much, externalizing where we're blaming external forces. And the third of the three awareness skills, remember, being aware of those 50,000 thoughts a day, being aware of our emotions, is detecting these deep-rooted iceberg beliefs that are actually holding us back and we don't even realize it. We move from that to the action skills, challenging the beliefs, putting things in perspective. Remember, gratitude in the morning, right? And, before going to bed at night, writing down the 3 good things. And number 6, calming and focusing. Where does that come into play? It helps us with our emotion regulation. Taking the deep breaths, stop, the thing that we're talking about today. It helps us with our impulse control. We can stop, pause. These are the things that we want to practice, even when we're not in a situation. Practice stopping, practice pausing. I practice deep breaths a lot. And so then when there is a situation where I'm not feeling that great about it, I'm just going to take deep breaths. Just take them. 6 seconds in, and then exhale for 6 seconds. If you do nothing else, practice and practice and practice on the deep breathing. And just keep it in mind when you're faced with a situation, just take the deep breaths. Folks don't have to know why you're doing it. Just do it. And so in our video, great material shared. Remember, STOP, the acronym. Stop your body. T, take a deep breath. O, observe what you are feeling. Remember, being aware of what you're feeling. And P, proceed wisely. And remember, with impulses, the 30 to 60 seconds. Take those deep breaths in those 30 to 60 seconds. It'll change your emotion and your impulsivity for the better, and it'll change it significantly. Remember, delay and decide skill. Create a pause, count to 5. Remember, that's the taking those deep breaths. And helpful delay strategies, walk away. Walk away. Don't stay engaged. You don't see that happening in the TikTok videos, right? Folks are going right at it. Folks are not walking away. Text someone. Take the slow breaths. Again, physical movement. So I want to thank you all for joining us for today. I hope you make it a fantastic day. And remember, since we spend all of our time thinking, there's 50,000 thoughts a day, we must think with power and utilize power thinking. And make sure you get that Power Thinking app, Power Thinking Corp, on the Google Play or the Apple Store. Love to have you as part of the group. And Sharon Smalls, good to see you. Carla and Claudia, Ed Samuel, thank you for the book. George Clark, thanks for being with us. Marie Turner, Sophia and Laura and Dr. Ekman and Peggy and Caroline and Timothy Butts. Layla, great to see you all. And others who I may have missed, appreciate you. Make it a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you again, hopefully this evening. And of course, on our 5 platforms. Appreciate you all as well. I saw Felipe and Coach Carrie Willis and Leslie Flowers joined us here, and Layla joined us on YouTube. Really appreciate you all. Sherry Aquari, thanks again for all the work that you do for us. I hope I didn't miss anyone, but I appreciate each and every one of you, and making a wonderful day. And we'll talk.